the regulatory gap is within the open source. Regarding the actual technologies themselves, there could be an export control angle here. And I think it kind of, this brings it to one of the central issues I think that we're having currently with BIS and within our export control system is these so-called emerging and foundational technologies. And the ability by BIS to identify, BIS and the interagency to identify these technologies and then put appropriate controls on them. And in the case of emerging, it's things that are not currently developed, but are going to be potentially important to U.S. national security or foreign policy interests. And within the legislation, it's in the history of it, it's clear that the intent was to find these things very quickly and likely use a unilateral control to make sure that the U.S. government understands what this technology is and what the risks are, and then work with the different multilateral bodies to potentially put a broader control on that technology. For today's conversation, the foundational one is critically important. And it's been about 4 years since the Export Control Reform Act was passed, and the U.S. government hasn't identified any foundational technologies. And I think what the Congress was trying to get at that time was there are certain technologies that have been decontrolled, and this was likely done under an assumption that international trade would create greater openings and there's going to be more opportunities and less risks. And in the case of the PRC, there's been a course correction in the last several years of really understanding the significant risks at play with transferring certain types of technologies, even things that might be older. So I'm not certain of the specific dynamics of the NVIDIA instance, but certainly technology up and down the semiconductor supply chain could be controlled. And whether, considering China's military civil fusion strategy and their ongoing human rights abuses, it still makes sense for those types of technologies to be decontrolled. And unfortunately, in 4 years, we haven't made a lot of progress.